So, I've been working my way through watching the 4Kids and original Japanese versions of the first season of Pocket Monsters and Pokémon for my upcoming video series in which I show every censorship, edit or change that was made when 4Kids dubbed the anime into English, similar to my One Piece and Dragon Ball Z videos I have done, which you should go watch if you haven't already. They're amazing, trust me. I soon started to notice some odd occurrences that the 4Kids version of Pokémon was more animation complete, so to speak. There were various moments where the so-called original Japanese version had missing animations, which 4Kids seemingly included. Just a few examples being when Ash is facing off against Lieutenant Surge. As they are starting the second match, you can see both Ash and Lieutenant Surge enter from off-screen, before shouting their commands, while the Japanese version has them already stationary on the screen before the sequence starts. Another is during the next episode, when James is explaining to Jessie that he got an advance on both their salaries to buy a Magikarp, and Jessie gives him a whack. You can see a tooth falling out of his mouth in the 4Kids version, but this is missing in the Japanese. Finally, various scenes of Pokeballs flying through the air or towards the camera look like they have been slowed down or edited out of the Japanese version, while maintaining their normal speed or animation length in the 4Kids version. This really concerned me each time these edits kept appearing. Why was the 4Kids version more animation complete than the original Japanese? Many do consider the 4Kids version of Pokémon to be quite faithful to the original, when compared to other shows that they had dubbed, which is saying a lot by the way. But, to have extra animations that even the Japanese version didn't have, seems to be out of the realm of possibility. It is incredibly strange that they would have a more superior roar to work with compared to the Japanese version, so this is when I decided to start investigating and soon discovered that there are possibly 4 different versions of the original Pocket Monsters cross Pokémon series. But first, I want to start us back at the beginning of my investigation. The first thing I considered was that maybe the TV masters were being used for the Japanese copies of the episodes that I'm watching, while the 4Kids dub received and used home video masters that had slightly improved animation. Pocket Monsters released in Japan on April 1st, 1997, while the English air date wouldn't be until over a year later, on September 8th, 1998. In fact, 20 days before even the original Red and Blue video games released in the West. The VHS rental release for the first 3 Pokémon episodes in Japan was on November 27th, 1997, a good 10 months before the English air date of Pokémon, with the VHS home video release of the first 2 episodes coming out on July 18th, 1998, still a good 2 months before the English Pokémon air date. This is quite a common trend in the anime industry to do. Due to tight deadlines and the weekly episode schedule, they would iron out some of the more wonky animations when releasing onto home video. This can be seen to affect many anime, even as recently as the Dragon Ball Super's infamous episode 5, where its animation quality was fixed after broadcast. Thankfully, this seems to be less common, with more consistent seasonal schedules to allow for slightly less rushed production cycles, although that's still its own can of worms. It did look plausible at first, as many of the copies of the Japanese version I have appear to be ripped from the Kids Station TV channel, a kids channel only in Japan that launched all the way back in 1993. However, through research, I found Kids Station only acquired the rights to air reruns of the original Pocket Monster series in 2005, and was not the TV station that originally aired the Pocket Monster series. That claim goes to TV Tokyo. That would mean that unless for some reason Kids Station was only given the original TV masters as opposed to the home video masters, or decided to not air home video masters in favour of the original TV master, then it seems more likely that there was in fact no updated animation changes made when bringing Pocket Monsters to home video, and therefore the origins for the 4Kids Pokemon Master has come from somewhere else, although I won't rule this option out entirely. With this knowledge in mind, I wanted to see if I could find a rip or torrent of Pocket Monsters that is older than the Kids Station rip that most encoders seem to be taken from. I started by working my way backwards and starting with older torrents, finding a torrent all the way from June 2008, which unfortunately was a Kids Station rip. I quickly found another torrent from January 2010, but I found it was another Kids Station rip as well. Moving on to the Pocket Monster Project rips from June 2012, I quickly found that these too were Kids Station rips. I concluded that rips from this time period were likely all using the same sources, so I decided to see if any new torrents would differ their source options, given the possibility of streaming and digital rental services providing higher quality sources, and I seem to have hit gold straight away with a torrent from the group SOS Subs. Released in May 2024, the source for these episodes don't appear to be coming from the KidStation rip, with the lack of a KidStation logo appearing in the top corner throughout the episodes. And they even include the sponsor screen, albeit without the sponsor text you would normally see on an actual TV broadcast in Japan. However, this source appears to have all the same animation and edit inconsistencies that the KidStation rip has, and is also quite a high quality source, which would make it even more unlikely to have originated before the KidStation rip. I did message the original uploader of the torrent to see where they got their source from, although they were unsure of the origins themselves, stating that they were just sent them, but did state that they could possibly be from Amazon, although with no evidence to back up this claim. A 2020 torrent from the same SOS Subs group does however appear to be using the KidStation rip, so we'll move on for now. Next up, I did eventually find a 2016 torrent from Winxbloom 1980. Their episode sources are more inconsistent. The uploader states that some of the episodes aren't taken from the KidStation source, although the majority still come from a KidStation source, with me assuming that those with the raw kids suffix in their name appear to be the ones referred to as coming from the KidStation source, have the same qualities as the 2024 SOS Subs rip, with high quality visuals, missing the KidStation logo, the inclusion of the sponsor segment, and as with the SOS Subs rip, all the same animation discrepancies found in the KidStation version. We're still no further to finding the origins of the 4Kids Pokémon video source, although we may have at least found the origin for the newer high quality source that we have, which is still related to the KidStation version of the anime. To further confirm this source, after a bit more research, I found that the KidStation version of the anime also includes a 5-second tag at the end of each episode, which includes a "see you next time" piece of text. Both the SOS Subs and Winxbloom versions indeed do have the 5-second tag at the end of each episode, although without the text. The vast majority of this torrent seems to be made up of these KidStation RAWs, however a few episodes do appear to be from different sources. First off is episode 15, Battle Aboard the St. Anne, which according to its torrent title comes from a Hulu Japan rip. This single episode has all the exact same visuals and animation edits as seen in the 4Kids version, from when Raticate and Starmie battle with the background turning blue instead of a mix of blue and red seen in the other Japanese rips, to when Jessie punches James and a tooth is seen flying, just like in the 4Kids version, while keeping all of the Japanese aspects intact, such as unaltered text like in this windscreen scene. So, there does appear to be a version of the Pocket Monster anime that has all of the same animation edits as the 4Kids version from 1998, which makes 3 different versions of the original Pokemon series. It looks like we're getting somewhere. Let's look into the Hulu version of the original Pokemon series. After some more research, it looks like the original Pokemon series has never been available on Hulu US, which rules out the possibility of that being the source. Hulu JP or Hulu Japan did have Pocket Monsters the original series at one point, although it doesn't seem to be available anymore as of July 2025. Most sources seem to point out that Hulu Japan didn't use an edited 2004 version of the anime, which is likely the source of the KidStation version, and in fact used the original unaltered version of the 1997 version of the anime, before the Pokemon Shock incident. As you likely know, episode 38 of the original series, known as Electric Soldier Porygon in English, had various scenes in which an excessive amount of flashing lights caused hundreds of Japanese kids to be hospitalized, and was instantly pulled from circulation and banned from airing in every country. What is less commonly known is that the previous 37 episodes were retroactively edited to reduce flashing lights in previous battle scenes to conform with new standards put in across Japanese TV stations. So, not only are there aspects of the animation in the KidStation Japanese version missing, but now the scenes in which flashes of lights appear are also not in their original form, but still don't match the 4Kids source of the anime. The other sources in the Winx Bloom torrent are from the original unedited airing of the Pocket Monsters series, and after a bit of digging, I was eventually able to find all 38 original unaltered versions of the first series of Pocket Monsters, which can be identified by the intro title sequence being hand-drawn compared to the edited version being replaced with a CGI intro. Just a quick warning, I will be showing a short sequence of the original flashing seen in battles in episodes 14 and 15, but not from the infamous Porygon episode. The episodes I will be showing aren't linked to any incidents, but I just wanted to give a flashing light warning just in case, so view the next part of the video with caution. The unaltered version shows flashes that are vastly different from the more blended flashes seen in the edited Pocket Monsters anime, which 4Kids toned down even more in their version to just a single still frame. The unaltered version does, however, in fact have the animations that can be seen in the 4Kids dub, but are missing from the edited Japanese version. Hooray! So we can now officially confirm that the original version of Pocket Monsters indeed did show the more animation complete version, and we can pretty confidently say that this is likely where the 4Kids dub got its source from originally. So, by all accounts, we now have 4 different versions of the original Pocket Monster Pokemon series. First, the unaltered 1997 version of Pocket Monsters, the revised edited version of Pocket Monsters, the September 1998 release of the English version of Pokémon, and an unknown origin or date version of a possible Hulu rip of Pocket Monsters that includes the original animation from both the 1997 and English release, but has the English release versions of the flashes. This begs the question, why are the flashes in the 4Kids dub edited differently from what can be seen in the edited version of the Japanese release? And what about the single episode outlier from the Winx Bloom torrent that claims it's from Hulu Japan? Let's look at the timeline. Pocket Monsters originally aired on April 1st, 1997, but was taken off air and postponed after the Pokémon Shock incident on December 16th, 1997. The Pocket Monsters series did return on April 16th, 1998 from episode 39 onwards. Pokémon in the West originally aired on September 8th, 1998, a full year and 5 months after the original Japanese release date, with it releasing 10 months after the Pokémon Shock incident had already occurred, ensuring 4Kids were well aware of the issues with the flashing animations in the series. After a lot of attempts at searching for when 4Kids actually acquired the Pokémon anime, I couldn't find an exact date. However, some sources claim that 4Kids had acquired the license to Pokémon as early as February 1997, before the release of the first episode in Japan, with a small snippet in the Sarasota Herald Tribune newspaper dated January 1st, 1998, confirming that 4Kids Entertainment at least held the license to Pokémon by this time, and that they had made a press release stating their plans on bringing Pokémon to US stations. I did see that they may have actually officially started producing the dub sometime around May 1998, but could not find a source to verify this claim. Back over in Japan, it was announced on January 23rd, 1998 by Shogakukan and Media Factory, who are the producers and distributors of the anime, that the first 6 episodes of the Pocket Monster series would be getting re-released, with the re-releases coming out on February 1st, 1998. These are the only episodes that had been released onto VHS rental at the time before the Pokémon Shock incident, with every future release being edited versions of the Pokémon series. This means that 4Kids acquired the license a minimum of a full month before the edited re-release of Pocket Monsters in Japan, which also means that they likely could have already been sent the original RAWs of the Pokémon episodes that included the excessive flashing animation, possibly even before the Pokémon Shock incident had occurred, which suggests that maybe both Shogakukan and 4Kids Entertainment could have separately made their own edits of the original Pocket Monster Pokémon series around the same time as one another, but chose to go down different routes when it came to toning down the flashing sequences in the anime, with Shogakukan deciding, or maybe mistakenly, also editing out some of the other aspects of the animation that they felt may have caused issues such as characters quickly appearing from off screen, or Pokeballs spinning too quickly in front of the camera, as an overcorrection to the controversy. This theory looks like it checks all the boxes we have, But we are forgetting about our mysterious 4th version of Pocket Monsters, along with the fact that there's a reference to a 2004 edit of the original Pocket Monster series that we still haven't fully explored. The only reference I can find that provides evidence of a 2004 edit is in the Hulu section of the Bulbapedia wiki, which only mentions a 2004 edit being distributed by Shogakukan, but weren't the ones used for the Hulu episodes. It doesn't, however, have any citations to back up this claim, although the claim of Hulu using the unedited versions appear to be true. The only evidence I can find to back up a claim of a 2004 version of the original Pocket Monster series is the release of Pocket Monsters Best Collection DVD releases, which released on August 9th, 2005 or June 25th, 2005, depending on what source you believe. This would line up with the fact that maybe Shogakukan did a re-edit of Pocket Monsters in 2004 in preparation for their release on DVD as well as reruns on KidStation, which, as we already know, started in early 2005. Finally, looking at the supposed Hulu rip of episode 15 from the Winx Bloom torrent, this could have easily have been a cross-edit using both the clean KidStation source and a source of the English Pokemon series for some reason. But this seems overly tedious for very little gain, or perhaps Hulu Japan at some point did stream an edited version of the Pocket Monster original series and this rip was taken during that time. The only other theory I can provide is that this episode is somehow ripped from a pre-2004-2005 source, perhaps the 1998 re-edit which was then used for the VHS versions of the original series. This could also be where the 4Kids source originated from, as opposed to 4Kids making their own separate edits to the flashes, allowing them to focus on just the Japanese text removals and overlays. I have scoured the internet and I can't find a single recording or rip of an episode of Pocket Monsters from a Japanese VHS source, at least on the English speaking internet. There are VHS copies available to buy online, and although I was tempted, I will refrain from buying these for now, as I would also need an NTSC VHS player, and unless this video blows up, I can't justify the cost right now. Amazon Prime Video Japan does have the original series available, but this is also likely to be the 2004-2005 edit, as opposed to an older edit. I am unable to verify that myself though. And unfortunately, that takes us to the end of my investigation. Through this video, we have found 4 different versions of the original Pocket Monster Pokemon series. The original unaltered version of Pocket Monsters from 1997, the original 4Kids English dub of Pokemon from 1998, an edited version of Pocket Monsters likely originating from a 2004-2005 edit that was made for the DVD releases and TV reruns, although this could also be from the 1998 edit, but we have yet to find evidence to support that. And finally, a mysterious edit of Pocket Monsters episode 15 that hosts the edits from the English version but without the English text redos. The torrent seems to indicate it's from a Hulu rip, but possibly could be a pre-2004 edit of the anime, which in turn was used as a source for the original Pokemon English dub. As for why currently the only official Japanese source for the original Pocket Monster series has a slew of extra cut animations and effects in it when compared to both the pre-Pokemon Shock and English dub versions, I could not find any evidence on if these edits were intentionally made by the animators or if it's just a bad rip of the source material. But I am personally leaning towards the former as some sort of overcorrection for the Pokemon Shock incident, and it would be really interesting to hear from those in charge at the time about their decision making. Saying all this, I am no lost media expert. I'm not even a massive Pokemon fan, although I did watch the original series growing up and have rewatched it in the past, along with playing many of the games, including Pokemon Blue and Gold on my Game Boy Color. If anyone more knowledgeable in this area can provide any additional information, then I'd be happy to make an addendum video with any new information that's found. It's likely I could have possibly missed something obvious as well, and this video has been all for naught. Oh well, at least I can get back to making my Pocket Monster vs Pokemon comparison video now. If that sounds of interest to you, then please make sure to subscribe, don't forget to leave a like if you liked it, and I'll hopefully see you next time.